For 8 seasons, she was the gentle heartbeat of a family that never existed. Karen Grassle, as Caroline Ingalls, didn't just act like a mother, she became the moral compass of Little House on the Prairie. When viewers watched her scrub laundry in Plum Creek or comfort a crying child, they saw patience personified. They saw strength wrapped in a calico dress. For nearly 50 years, that image remained pristine. The cast was a family. Michael Landon was the beloved patriarch. And Karen was the quiet heroine who never complained. But at 82, sitting in her quiet home far from the Hollywood spotlight, Karen Grassle has finally broken that silence. And what she has revealed about Michael Landon, the man America trusted more than their own pastors, is making even the most loyal fans cry. Not just for her, but for everything they refuse to see. We need to rewind to 1974. America was tired. Watergate had shattered trust. The economy was gasping. Families needed a refuge. Little House on the Prairie became that sanctuary. And at its center was Michael Landon, a former teen idol from Bonanza who had transformed himself into Charles Ingalls, the perfect father who never yelled, never hit, and always knew the right thing to say. Beside him stood Karen Grassle. She was a classically trained actress, a Shakespearean performer who had cut her teeth in the theater. She wasn't a Hollywood creation. She was real. And she believed she had landed the role of a lifetime. But Grassle quickly learned that the set of Walnut Grove operated under a very different constitution than the one fans saw on screen. Michael Landon wasn't just the star. He was the writer, the executive producer, and the final word on every decision. The show was his kingdom. And in that kingdom, Karen Grassle began to realize that playing the perfect wife came with a price that no script could prepare her for. In the early days, the warning signs were subtle, tiny fissures in the foundation that Karen convinced herself to ignore. She noticed that the camaraderie on set was conditional. If you were in Michael's inner circle, you were safe. If you challenged him, even politely, the temperature of the room dropped. For the first few years, Grassle did her job. She showed up. She delivered emotional performances. She held her own opposite a man who dominated every frame he was in. But when the show exploded in popularity, becoming a top 10 ratings juggernaut, Karen did something dangerous. She asked for a raise. It seems absurd now. She was the second lead on the most beloved show on television. She was on the poster. She received mountains of fan mail. Yet her salary was a fraction of Landon's and even less than some guest stars. According to Grassle, the request was not met with negotiation. It was met with retribution. There were no shouting matches. There was no firing. Instead, Landon used a quieter, crueler weapon, the script. Karen began to notice that Caroline Ingalls was fading. Scenes that were once rich with maternal wisdom were cut down to single lines. Family dinners, the emotional core of the show, now revolved entirely around Charles. When Grassle asked for a moment to shine, she was told the story didn't need it. But behind the scenes, the humiliation was far more personal. Grassle has revealed that Landon had a habit of making vulgar, unnecessary comments during intimate scenes, remarks that were passed off as jokes to the crew, but landed as daggers to her. She describes one specific incident during a romantic embrace between Charles and Caroline. As the cameras rolled, and as Karen tried to stay in character as the loving, devoted wife, Landon whispered a crude joke about her physical appearance meant to embarrass her. The crew laughed nervously. Karen froze. The director didn't call cut. So she smiled. She touched his face gently, as the script demanded. She delivered her line. And when the scene ended, she walked to her trailer, closed the door, and sat in the silence. That was the pattern. The public saw chemistry. Karen saw survival. She realized that every time she pushed back against the pay disparity or the demeaning remarks, her role shrank. It was a masterclass in psychological control. He didn't have to fire her. He just had to make her feel invisible. The breaking point, the part that makes fans weep when they hear it now, didn't happen on a soundstage. It happened in a lonely moment of realization. Karen admits that she began to internalize the humiliation. She started to believe that maybe she wasn't good enough. Maybe she didn't deserve the raise. Maybe the jokes were just how men are. For decades, she carried the shame of not fighting back, not because she was weak, but because she was terrified. I thought if I spoke up, she says quietly in rare interviews about her memoir, I would never work again. And I believed I wouldn't survive that. She watched Landon charm talk show hosts, cry on cue for the cameras, and hold charity drives for sick children. The world adored him. And Karen felt completely alone. There was no HR department to call in 1977. There was no social media to expose the truth. There was only a contract and the crushing weight of a system designed to protect the man at the top. So she swallowed the pain. She kept the peace. And for nearly 50 years, she let the world believe that the set of Little House was as wholesome as the town of Walnut Grove. The truth that Karen Grassle finally reveals at 82 is not about violence. It is about betrayal. It is the story of a man who held a woman's career hostage because she dared to ask for equality. Michael Landon died in 1991. He never had to answer for the culture he created. But Grassle's memoir, Bright Lights, Prairie Dust, pulls back the curtain on a reality that fans have struggled to accept. She confirms that Landon's behavior wasn't just directed at her. She watched him weaponize his charm, using affection as a reward and silence as a punishment. He could be generous one day and vindictive the next. But the deepest wound, the one that still brings tears to her eyes, is the realization that she spent the prime of her career apologizing for existing. She didn't write the memoir to destroy Michael Landon. She wrote it because she was tired of lying for him. In a passage that has gone viral among fans, Grassle describes a specific moment after a contract dispute. Landon insisted on reshooting a tender scene between Charles and Caroline. In the new version, he directed her to look at him with desperation, not love. He wanted her to look small. He wanted the audience to see her as dependent. She did it. She acted the part. And then she went home and wept because she realized he wasn't directing the character. He was directing her. The reaction from fans has been a river of grief. Not just for Karen Grassle, but for the childhood she helped raise. I named my son Charles because of that show, one fan wrote on social media. Now I feel like I betrayed Karen by not knowing. Others have expressed anger at themselves for missing the clues. But the tears flow hardest when fans see recent footage of Grassle, a dignified, silver-haired woman speaking softly about pain she buried for half a century. She is not bitter. She is free. And that is the ultimate revelation. Karen Grassle finally revealed the truth not because she wants to cancel a dead man, but because she finally realized that her silence was protecting a myth that never deserved her loyalty. Michael Landon gave the world a beautiful show. But Karen Grassle gave the world a lesson in courage. It is never too late to tell the truth. It is never too late to unburden your heart. At 82, she has done what she couldn't do at 32, she has taken her power back. For the millions who grew up watching her bake bread and sing hymns, the tears are not just for what Michael Landon did. They are for the quiet, invisible strength of a woman who waited decades to say, I mattered too. And now, finally, the world believes her.